James Harden has historically not been a playoff riser. Despite the fact that he produced historic regular season numbers and consistently led elite offenses in Houston, he experienced a consistent drop in scoring volume and efficiency in the playoffs, had a few brutal elimination game performances, and ultimately could never bring his team an NBA title, the one hurdle any all-time great must clear to heal all reputational wounds. But now, at 34 years old, generally considered the third fiddle on the Los Angeles Clippers, Harden hasn't just taken his game up a level in these playoffs. In a series with Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, and kinda Kawhi Leonard, he has been the best player on the floor so far. Harden is averaging 26 points per game, a massive leap from his regular season average of 16.6, and has posted a true shooting percentage of 73.1, the best scoring efficiency of any player to attempt at least 5 shots per game in these playoffs. This is all made even more remarkable by the fact that Harden finished the regular season on a brutal cold streak, so I, for one, certainly did not see this level of dominance coming. Simply put, we are watching an offensive maestro turn back the clock out of necessity. With Kawhi down, the Clippers needed the best version of Harden, and he's delivered, controlling the game masterfully and getting what he wants. This all starts with Harden's ability to hunt his preferred matchup and then score with devastating efficiency in isolation. We saw this from the opening minutes of Game 1. Harden's most devastating weapon as a scorer remains the step back three. In this series, he has made 7 of 13 step backs from deep. That's 54% shooting on one of the most difficult and unguardable shots in basketball. In the first quarter of Game 1, Harden has Amir Coffey set an absurdly high screen for him all the way at half court, so Harden can target Luka, who he views as a vulnerable defender, off a switch. And with a head of steam, Harden bumps Luka, steps back, and rains this. Just a couple possessions later, Coffey again sets a very high screen for Harden, and Dante Exum tries to fight over it to prevent the Luka switch, but Harden wisely goes behind the back to reject the screen and force the switch. Luka's a couple feet below the three-point line, which is ill-advised because an open pull-up three has been like a layup for Harden. When Harden has been given any space by a defender concerned with him beating them off the bounce, such as poor Gafford here off a switch, he's rained pull-up and step-back threes over them. And even if the defender is playing him tight, he can threaten the drive, then stop on a dime and create a bunch of space for his step-back. This shot is made even more unguardable by the fact that defenders have to be extremely cognizant of closing out without infringing on Harden's landing space and being called for a foul, which means they have to basically fly by him and still try to get a hand in his face. And if you clip him, there's no more efficient play in basketball than 3 free throws. Keep in mind that when Harden shoots 50% from 3, as he has in this series, that efficiency is equivalent to shooting 75% on 2s, significantly better than what he shot on layups this year. So there's theoretically no shot more devastating to the defense than a Harden pull-up or step-back 3. This should be even more true considering that Harden cannot get to or finish around the rim at a high level anymore. This was made painfully apparent in last year's playoff run, in which he shot a genuinely shocking 15 of 39 in the restricted area. League average is 67% in that range, and he shot 38%. He was blocked outright 10 times, and it became very apparent that against big athletic teams, he simply was not a true downhill scoring threat anymore. Even as Harden had several explosive performances in last year's playoffs due to lights-out pull-up shooting, he was also extremely volatile because he got nothing easy around the rim, an area that normally provides a crucial floor for scorers. So if you're the Mavericks, given Harden's limitations scoring at the rim, and that over 55% of his shots this series have come from deep, it makes sense to do everything you can to try to take those off-the-dribble threes away, right? Even if he gets a step on you, forcing opponents into mid-range shots is generally the best result for a defense. The problem is that Harden has been exceptional as an intermediate shot maker. Luka fully concedes this drive to Harden in an effort to funnel him into help, but instead of challenging a great rim protector, Harden decelerates and nails this short step back, which Luka contests poorly. This is another blow-by against Luka, who again seems to want Harden to drive into help, but that floater is money, and rim protectors can't deter that shot without conceding a pass to the big. Harden was going at Luka relentlessly and finding great success in Game 4, so the Mavericks eventually stopped allowing Luka to switch onto him. Here, Luka pre-switches with Kleber, meaning he switches with another off-ball defender before he can be targeted as the screen defender, but Harden cooks Kleber anyways. The deceleration on this hezzy is nasty, and he just was not missing floaters. Dallas is keeping Luka out of these screening actions now, but because of Harden's lethal pull-up shooting, PJ Washington is picking him up at about 35 feet here. He gives him the angle to the right. That deceleration is again disgusting. The threat of the step back ever looming here, and this is now an and one floater. Here, Luka hedges to avoid the switch. PJ is again guarding Harden about 35 feet out and wants him to go right, but Harden gets back to his left and slinks by him, then hits another floater to close a massive 15-point fourth quarter and hold off a comeback effort. Dallas just cannot guard this man. The step backs are devastating, but when they guard him out to 30 plus feet to try to take those away, Harden is just too shifty, and with all that runway, he's going to get a step. Josh Green goes over a screen at half court here to prevent the Luka switch, and then forces him away from the screen to prevent the switch again, but you can't guard him tightly at half court without letting him get by you, and he nails another step back too. And the sheer frequency at which Harden has been targeting mismatches has led to some bad defensive miscommunications. Luka wants to switch here, but Jones does not, and Harden is left wide open. Luka again wants to switch here, but PJ Washington and Kyrie both want the other guy to pick up Harden, and it results in a wide open pull-up three. And although Harden has targeted Luka the most in this series, it hasn't really mattered who's guarded him. Harden has averaged 1.47 points per isolation in this series, which is unfathomable. The 1.1 he averaged this regular season was already an 88th percentile mark, and he's upped the efficiency another 30%. When Harden's directly targeted Luka on ISOs and pick and roll switches, he's averaged 1.28 points per possession. Still an amazing number, but actually below his average this series. And Luka's had some good moments against him. Even when Harden has been defended well, he has simply been too good as a shot maker. Even when defenders stay with him on a drive, which has been tough to do, he can get to that short step back and he's not missing. Harden is 5 of 5 on step back two-pointers this series and 7 of 13 on floaters. The shot making is off the charts, and his willingness to utilize this intermediate area as a scorer has been crucial. That's how, even while shooting just 2 of 5 inside the restricted area in this series, I'll say that again, he's made 2 shots at the rim, Harden is the most efficient scorer in the playoff field. That shouldn't be possible. The rest of the top 5 is all great spot-up shooters and rim finishing bigs, players who have high-value looks created for them. Whereas Harden is living off of self-created jump shots. Nobody scores this efficiently with a shot diet like that. And although he lacks the valuable rim pressure he used to assert, that has forced him to become a more versatile pure shot maker, which is valuable in the playoffs. And although his scoring has been the remarkable part of this series, I want to give Harden props for his playmaking too. Dallas tries to trap him here, but the handoff gives Harden a running start on Kyrie, and he has a foot speed advantage versus Lively, so he sprints until he has the angle and delivers a beautiful bounce pass to Zubac. Kyrie is totally ball watching here, ready to help on Harden, so Mason Plumlee wisely comes to set a flare screen on Kyrie, and Harden floats this pass to Powell. When he's gotten a step, Harden has delivered some beautiful laydown passes to Zubac and has made some nice kickout passes to LA's excellent shooters. I also love this read that he's made twice in this series, where Lively is in a high drop, leaving a smaller defender as the low man in the paint, and the crazy athlete that is Russ cuts to go over the top, and Harden delivers the lob. They're only 1 for 2 on it, but I love the vision. He's played the pure point guard role really nicely when needed, delivering accurate inbound passes on ATOs, hitting shooters in their spots coming off screens. He's just been in complete control, barely missing, taking care of the ball with just 2.3 turnovers per game, and constantly compromising Dallas's defense. Can Harden keep this up? I don't know. The reality is, shooting 67% on all stepbacks compared to his 41% regular season average is probably not sustainable. Same goes for making 54% of his floaters compared to 38% this regular season. So maybe he's in for a clunker just because those shots don't fall every night. But he's getting good looks, and Dallas also hasn't shown anything close to an answer for him. Nothing that has been able to disrupt his rhythm or make him uncomfortable, and he has outplayed Luka Doncic by a lot in a couple of these games. This sort of offensive mastery and pure shot making is honestly a joy to watch. And if Harden can keep this up, that changes things for the Clippers. And it'd prove that a lot of people, including myself, underestimated what the old guy is capable of.